Welcome everyone to the NiCE Cognigy Tech Update Spring 2026. I'm new Senior Product Marketing Manager at NiCE Cognigy, and I'll be your host for today's session. No matter where in the world you are joining us from, great to have you here. As always, the webinar is listen only. If you have questions, please drop them in the chat. We'll pick them up as we go or follow up after the webinar. And if you want to rewatch or catch anything you missed, the recording will also be available within 24 hours. With that said, let's get into it. We've got a jam-packed session today. In the first few months of this year, we shipped more than 100 platform updates, enhancing everything from how agents are built and evaluated to how they are deployed and optimized in production. And that's exactly the journey we'll take you through in today's tech update. You will hear from 6 product experts, each covering a different area of the platform as we move through the key highlights across every stage of the agentic lifecycle: create, evaluate, deploy, and observe. I hand over to each speaker as we go, so let's jump right into our first topic. Starting with agent creation, we are kicking things off with one of the hottest topics in AI today, agentic AI and tooling. Specifically, we'll look at how NiCE Cognigy is adopting the Model Context Protocol to connect AI agents with broader ecosystems. As many of you know, Cognigy already acts as an MCP client, enabling AI agents to call and execute external tools hosted on MCP servers. With our latest updates, we are taking this a step further by introducing the new Cognigy MCP server, which allows external AI systems to directly access Cognigy-powered capabilities. This positions Cognigy not only as a consumer of tools, but also as a provider of reliable governed services within the wider agent ecosystem. But it doesn't stop there. The Cognigy MCP server also enables you to connect with AI coding platforms like Claude, Cursor, and Codex to rapidly build, test, and iterate on AI agents. This empowers developers to move from prototypes to production faster while maintaining flexibility across their preferred AI development environments. To show how you can leverage the new MCP server for AI agent creation, I'd like to hand things over to Mei-Ling, Senior Product Owner at NiCE Cognigy. Mei-Ling will also walk us through several additional enhancements we've made around agentic AI and tooling. Over to you, Mei-Ling.
Thank you, Nu, and welcome everyone. I'm Merlin, a product manager at NiCE Cognigy, and I want to show you a few features that we released recently. So the first one is the MCP server endpoint, which basically lets you connect your tools that you have built in Cognigy under your AI agents via Model Context Protocol to an MCP client of your choice, for example, an AI coding assistant like Claude or Cursor. So what does it look like in Cognigy? If we navigate to Deploy Endpoints section and we create an MCP server endpoint here, we see this UI here. And at first we see a node experimental feature. So this is currently still in an experimental stage. Do not deploy it in production for now. We're still working on it a bit and there will be some improvements in the future. Do not use it in production. Continuing here with the flow selection, we can actually select flows in the project, and underneath these flows we have AI agent nodes. So if I select one AI agent, we can see the exposed tools that this agent has, and that can be exposed via MCP. So we have 4 tools here. This is a World Cup demo agent, so a travel concierge actually built to answer questions around the World Cup 2026. So we have 4 tools: get, match, schedule, search hotels, book hotel, and cancel booking. And via MCP, the name of the tool, the description, and the parameters get exposed. So make sure these things are accurate, because actually the LLM will base the decision if it will use this tool or not on the description and the name and the parameters. And down below here we have actually the MCP server URL, which is needed to configure the MCP integration to your MCP client. So in order to simplify this a bit, we have released another UI to not bloat our endpoint editor here. And this UI basically serves 2 use cases. So the first one is you can view your tools. Once again, name, description, parameters. We can actually test the tool, right? So if I choose get match schedule here, and I'm interested in the match schedule for Germany, I can run this test. we see a successful message here listing the until now known matches for Germany. I'm also interested if Germany is playing in Dallas. Looks like it does not. There's a count of 0 here. And now I'm interested how many games are actually taken place in Dallas, and we can see this works as well. So actually our tools work quite well. We have the intended result here in this little test a tool section. The second use case from this UI is simplifying the get it started. So we actually have the snippet here down here. You need to have to configure your MCP integration into your coding assistant, for example, Claude or Cursor. How does it look like in Claude? If you go to your developer section and edit the config, you will need to insert your MCP server URL in this config file here, and then Claude will be able to reach this MCP server endpoint and get the exposed tools. One note at this point, please treat this URL here as a secret. Right now there's no authentication bound to that, so if someone gets this URL, they will be able to reach the attached tools. Good, so how does the integration now look like? What can we do with it actually, right? We have the integration set up. Let's quickly switch to the Claude UI here. As a first prompt, and of course I prepared that a bit to save us some time, we have to discover the tools. This is basically the same as we just saw in the UI here, and then we can test the get match schedule, for example. What we do here is we send a request to this tool, exactly like we saw in the UI, and this also works for Claude here. And the third prompt that I now do is actually LLM testing for my tools, right? So if you imagine you have built a big flow and you want to make sure that everything is working as expected, which would be a lot of manual work actually to go into the interaction panel and test like 20, 30, 40 use cases maybe, you can just now instruct your AI coding assistant to do this testing for you and try some parameters, right? And what we got here is the test results, that it works fine for example, Germany as an input, but it does not work fine for Deutschland here. We get 0 matches here, and we get a conclusion that something is not working with the multilingual part of the flow. So really cool insights, actually super quick to set up, and we already get the test results from an LLM driven test. But what are we doing now with it, right? We actually get the results, but how do we fix it? Usually we would go into the UI and try to fix the flow here, but this is actually a perfect handover to my second topic, which is the NiCE Cognigy MCP server. And because these two concepts actually sound quite similar, I've prepared a documentation here on docs.cognigy.com. And we can see that the MCP server is listed under more endpoints. So this is an endpoint. And then we have the NiCE Cognigy MCP server, which is listed under developer reference, because this is an integration into the REST API package for Cognigy, right? So if we open this page, we can see that we have released an NPM package for Model Context Protocol to expose certain tools that you can interact with the Cognigy AI UI basically through our REST API package. There are tools included like manage your agents, manage your endpoints, manage knowledge, things like that. Things that you could usually do in the UI, you can now empower your AI coding assistant to do so. Right? And it's really easy to set up. You just need to download one file, double click it, and then you're basically done. You need to enter your Cognigy API base URL and your API key. Let's look at our config file again. As you remember, we have the MCP server endpoint here, and then we have the NiCE Cognigy MCP server listed here. So we have the base URL and an API key here, which is needed for the integration. I have actually created a new user here for my AI coding assistant to not mix with my current actual user. So if something goes wrong, I can actually investigate and go into a logs and the audit events and see what went wrong exactly for this specific API key instead of mixing it with my personal account. Okay, so enough from the config file. We have set up the integration. Now let's switch to Claude Code here, for example. And what I've done here is actually copy pasted the investigation results from our investigation earlier from the MCP server endpoint into Claude Code here. That is this part. And then let Claude Code discover the exposed tools through the NPM package, like talk to agent, manage knowledge, manage flows, etc. And then fix these findings, right? What we can see down here, after all of this is completed, we can see that the root cause has been identified and 2 fixes were actually applied. So the tool description and parameter schema has been changed, and the resolve match data code node has been changed here through the tools that we expose through the NPM package here, right? Then we have the verified results. I can now switch back to the MCP server endpoint, chat here again, and rerun the test here. And what we can see now is that we have a lot of check marks. We have a nice conclusion that now everything works correctly. And Claude even finishes off with a nice little pun to Italy here that simply didn't qualify for the tournament. Great. So what I want to test now is actually if I try a comment in Claude Code here, and we can visit the UI in the flowchart editor here. And what I ask Claude here is to update the get match schedule tool and change the name so that we can see on a very easy use case how it's working in the background, right? I just put it on the left side here and this one on the right side. And then we let Claude work. We can see, okay, it's done already. The tool has been renamed. I can refresh this page here. And what we can see next is that this tool here has actually been updated. We have a new label for this tool. As you can see, Claude changed the name to updated here. So in summary, for these 2 new features here, very powerful MCP integrations. On the one hand, to expose your tools through Model Context Protocol to other MCP clients. And on the other hand, to expose Cognigy interactable tools through Model Context Protocol to your coding assistants, for example. Great. So these were the 2 topics I wanted to start with. We have also 2 more quick ones. So this one is actually about authentication. We of course want to provide as much security as possible. So we introduced OAuth 2 for MCP tools. So if you have an MCP tool under your AI agent and you want to connect to a different server which is using or providing OAuth 2, you can now configure that in this section here to make your connection more secure and more reliable. And last but not least, we have actually introduced the maximum loop parameters for the resolve tool action node. You see that in the advanced section of the resolve tool action, you can choose between 0 and 50 as a threshold for your maximum loops. So as you know, industry LLMs are evolving and are using reasoning with a lot of iterations. And usually that's quite good to get better results, but sometimes they end up in infinite loops and burn a lot of tokens. And to save you from that, we have introduced this threshold, this hard-coded thresholds, to end the current request with an error instead of going into infinite loops. All of this is also described in our documentation, so definitely test it, check it out, and then provide us with feedback. That's it already on my end. Thank you everyone, and back to you, Nu.
Thank you, Mei-Ling. We're seeing the AI industry move toward greater interoperability through standardized protocols. So Cognigy opening up as an MCP server is a really exciting step in that direction. Next, we are turning to the engine that drives the intelligence behind AI agents, knowledge and LLM orchestration. To walk us through the latest updates, including auto-syncing of knowledge connectors, the new NiCE Knowledge Hub integration, and all latest LLM support, I'm happy to hand it over to Anastasia, Senior Product Manager at NiCE Cognigy.
Thank you, Nu, for the introduction, and hello everyone. My name is Anastasia Kolos, and I'm a Senior Product Manager in NiCE Cognigy. Let's kick it off with the enhancements we have introduced for the knowledge connectors that we have indeed covered during the last tech release update. To those of you who had a chance to attend Nexus event, this feature will not be new, as we have presented it at the Tech Labs. However, if you have not had a chance to experience it yet, I believe that this feature will bring you a lot of value and automation. To start with, knowledge connectors integrate external services to import content directly into your agentic conversation. This feature provides greater visibility and control compared to the other methods of uploading knowledge, such as uploading multiple PDFs or connecting to a single web page. Since 3rd of March 2026, with the release 2026 0.5, we introduced the knowledge connector syncing feature to keep knowledge stores synchronized with external content sources, such as CMS or documentation system. This feature reduces manual maintenance and ensures content consistency. Now let's have a look how it looks in the practice. You can see on my screen the knowledge store with two tabs, knowledge sources and knowledge connectors. As of now, the knowledge sources page, I have two sources, Ikigai and Key Questions. Those two sources were created in my knowledge store with a syncing feature that ingested the information from my Confluence space. On my Confluence space, though, I have made several changes to my second source. I have updated the title and the content of the page. In order to ensure that I don't have any discrepancy between my Confluence space and my knowledge connectors, I will sync the knowledge connectors by pressing sync manually. The syncing logic is quite simple. During the sync, the system identifies all edited new, deleted sources on the knowledge connector side. If the source was not updated, it is ignored during the sync. The update is not bidirectional, and the system only identifies updates on the knowledge connector side. However, if the user deleted the source on the Cognigy AI side, it still exists on the connector side. The source will be re-ingested again, as it will be treated as new. The users can decide to sync the knowledge manually, like I did now for the demo purposes, or define the preferred time update cycle by editing the knowledge connectors and specifying the syncing date and time preferences. As you could see now on the screen, the syncing has overwritten the source's content on the Knowledge AI side with the most updated version on the Confluence space, which means that I no longer need to delete the source manually and ingest the new content. If you are already using the pre-built connectors such as Confluence extension and DivPod extension, we have also updated those connectors extensions on the marketplace to support synchronization feature. Therefore, we encourage you to update to the latest version. In addition, if you have created your own knowledge connectors, we have also updated the extensions framework documentation to include the syncing feature, which you can reuse as a blueprint. Talking about the knowledge content information and also the synchronization, in the release 2026.8, we have released the first native node that doesn't require authentication and authorization keys to natively connect to CXone application, the Retrieve Knowledge node. The Retrieve Knowledge node enables AI agents in Cognigy to fetch relevant information from connected knowledge sources during an interaction. It processes the user's query, searches the configured knowledge base, and returns the most relevant content to generate accurate and context-aware responses. Editing a Retrieve Knowledge node allows you to connect the node to the unique ID number for the knowledge base, which is a collection of one or multiple knowledge sources. You can also configure the properties of the node, update parameters, or adjust its behavior within the flow depending on your needs. On my screen, you may now see the knowledge base with multiple demo sources. Once I use the Retrieve Knowledge node, I tap directly into the pipeline at runtime. For many CXone customers whose knowledge already lives in the NiCE Knowledge Hub, a centralized knowledge orchestration layer with its own RAG pipeline, storage, and system connectors, this feature simplifies the connection to Salesforce, ServiceNow, SharePoint, Dynamics 365, WordPress, Zendesk, and last but not least, NiCE Expert, where customers could also manage the knowledge. Knowledge bases in Knowledge Hub sync daily and can be triggered manually on demand to ensure up-to-date content. Let's quickly demo it. On the screen, you may see my AI agent, Amy. Amy can authenticate, retrieve knowledge, get booking details, and hand over to the human. When Amy receives questions that require specific knowledge, Emmy will use the retrieve knowledge tool, which during the runtime will also hit the retrieve knowledge node. One important note is that today you can configure only one retrieve knowledge node, which can be linked to the single knowledge hub knowledge base, with multiple sources though. Configuring multiple knowledge nodes within the same flow is currently not supported. For detailed documentation and setup of the node, please visit the NiCE CXone documentation page that can guide you through all required steps to successfully use the node in your agentic conversation. Last but not least, note that Retrieve Knowledge Node is supported only in Cognigy installations hosted in the NiCE CXone environments. So, as we now covered our major knowledge improvements, let's continue to what we have done within the LLM section. I would like to start this with the latest feature we have released in the release 2026-11, which aims to simplify your process of updating the LLMs. Let's go to the LLMs page and open any LLM configured model within the project. As you may see, we have added a new drop-down field that allows users to update the LLM model with an existing configuration, instead of creating a new one. Since connections already manage provider authentication, users should be able to seamlessly switch between the models using the same credentials unless there are fundamental changes in the configuration parameters or API requirements. This feature aims to improve your user experience when models are getting deprecated, retired, or when new models are added. Excuse me. Not to miss one field, we have added for OpenAI and Azure API type. This field is available for both predefined and custom models. We recommend to use a response API instead of chat completions API when we want a more unified, flexible, and future-proof interface, especially for multimodal tool using agentic conversations like applications. OpenAI is clearly positioning Response API as a primary interface going forward, while Chat and Completions API is still supported and can be used. However, it addresses simple use cases without tool calling or advanced workflows. In addition to this, we have also added support to the Google Generative AI, Gen AI API, which is Google's interface for accessing the Gemini family models. You may ask yourself why we have 3 different Google providers in the LLM list, but the reason behind this is compatibility. The Gemini API refers to access to the Gemini models themselves, while the Google Gen AI API is a simplified developer interface for interacting with those models. Last but not least, we have also deprecated and added new Amazon LLMs such as Amazon Nova Premier and Amazon Nova Lite 2. The Nova 2 family is the next generation that stands out as a highly capable multimodal designed for the complex reasoning and agentic flows, acting as a teacher model for the enterprise AI systems. Well, that's it from my side today. I hope that you enjoyed our tech updates related to the knowledge and the LLMs, and looking forward to seeing you next time. Handing over to you.
Thank you, Anastasia. Amazing enhancements to knowledge and LLM management. Now that we have covered the agent creation updates, let's move on to the next phase of the agentic lifecycle, agent evaluation. And with that, I'd like to quickly recap the Cognigy simulator, which was launched earlier this year. As you know, unlike previous generations of bots, AI agents are probabilistic, not deterministic. The same input can produce different outcomes, and on top of that, switching LLM models can introduce new behaviors that aren't always easy to detect. This means traditional testing with predefined scripts is no longer enough. AI agents need a way to be thoroughly evaluated before they go live, and this is what we delivered with Cognigy Simulator. Instead of checking whether an AI agent followed a predefined flow, Simulator evaluates whether it successfully navigates diverse realistic scenarios by simulating hundreds or even thousands of synthetic conversations. To get started, you can define your own test scenario or use AI-powered scenario generation based on existing AI agents or reword transcripts. Simulator will then automatically create the synthetic customer persona, mission, and success criteria that you can choose from. Once a scenario is created, you can then define the configuration for running a simulation, including their agent version, their model, and how many runs you want to execute. Simulations can be run on demand, like in this demo, or scheduled to run regularly for continuous testing and monitoring. And finally, you get detailed insights into how your AI agents perform, where they succeed, and where weaknesses emerge. You can also drill into individual synthetic conversations to uncover edge cases and systematically improve your AI agents over time. We won't do a deep dive into Simulator today since we already hosted a dedicated launch webinar earlier this year, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. There's a lot more to explore, including their advanced mocking concept that enables you to efficiently and holistically test different API paths instead of relying on live backend systems. So that was the agent evaluation update. Now let's move on to deploy and look at how you can launch experiences that are engaging, intuitive, and personalized for your customers. With that, I'd like to hand things over to Tom, product engineer at NiCE Cognigy, for the latest voice updates. In addition to expanded STT TTS support, Tom is going to show us how you can embed rich multimodal voice experiences right inside your web and apps. Tom, over to you.
Thank you, Nu. My name is Tom. I'm Product Manager for Voice here at NiCE Cognigy. I'm super excited today to present our updates to you. The main topic I'll be talking about today is click to call. For that, we'll be walking through a scenario of how the experience is today. Then we'll head into the product to see how to set it up. After that, we'll have a demo to see how it works end to end, and then we'll also dive a bit more into the technical details behind it. So, in general, the intelligence behind voice has evolved in the last few years. For example, speech providers like 11 Labs have these state-of-the-art models that really sound human-like, but we can also say that the interface behind these interactions really hasn't. A typical scenario still looks like this. A customer has an emergency, checks out the company's website to find contact information, and then only finds a number that the customer has to still dial manually. And this kind of manually dialing of phone numbers really breaks the digital journey and the immersion. This is where click to call tries to enhance the user experience. Click to call, of course, provides a one-click interface to create a phone call to the company, but it is also able to present some visual guidance during the voice call and also have multimodality inputs, so flexible inputs changing between speaking or typing. In general, the idea is that voice becomes part of the digital UI. That means voice is a control surface and it can be embedded into any front end. The UI and conversation stay synchronized in real time, and that then leads to the experience adapting instantly to what the customer is trying to do. But before we head into the demo, let's check out the product to see how we can set it up. Okay, so here we are on the product. I've set up this little Techinar project, and the only thing I have configured so far is an agent that we can then test or flow on. Now, if you want to set up click to call, it is super simple. The only place you need to go is settings and then voice preview settings and select the speed provider of your choice. Make sure you have working credentials, save, and then you can also test the connection to see if that works. And now once we have that, we can then head over to deploy and endpoints. Now we select a new endpoint, call it whatever you like, select the flow we want to use, and then we find ourselves in this endpoint and we see this setup click to call integration. Now because we already have our voice preview settings, if we click this in the back end, we will automatically connect to the voice gateway portal. I'll get into that after the demo, exactly what works, how it works, but if we set this up now here, we can see it takes a second. And then we have our embeddable link that you can now embed into any HTML page of your choice. You can also see we have this demo widget up here on the right that we can open to instantly test out our flow and our speech provider. So if I hit call here now.
Hello, I am astronomy expert, here to answer all your questions about our solar system, our galaxy, or the universe.
You can see that we already have this widget here fully working. So that was our click to call widget for quick out-of-the-box configuration. But we can also create more advanced UI experiences using the SDK. Let's hop into the demo to see how an experience like this can look like. So here we are in the demo. We're on the CogniCycle page, and perhaps I'm looking for a new road bike. Now, instead of having to kind of manually research all the bikes that CogniCycle offers, I can also just phone Carla and ask her for her expertise. So let's go ahead and do that.
Hi, I'm Carla, your CogniCycle expert. What can I help you with today?
Hi Carla, I'm a weekend rider and I'm looking for a new road bike around the €1,500 price range.
Got it. Road bikes for weekend rides around €1,500. Let me pull up our road range. These are our road bikes. Feel free to take a look. Because you said you're a weekend rider, I would recommend the following 3.
Thank you. I think the Aeron is a little bit out of budget, so maybe the Velo and the Marine are more interesting to me.
If you'd like, I can provide a side-by-side comparison of the Velo and the Marin, so you can clearly see what the additional investment offers.
Sure, that'd be great.
All right, pulling them up side by side.
Interesting. So the main difference is the group set and the brakes.
Yes, the brakes and gear set are the main difference, but they are both great choices for weekend rides. Great, you selected the Velo for €12.99. Last thing, wait, what's your delivery postcode? Great, adding to cart. You're set. The Velo is on its way to 1234. It should arrive in 3 to 5 working days. Your order reference is 1067.
Perfect, Carla. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and be sure to ask if you have any further questions.
Okay, so I hope you liked that demo. I think it showcases quite nicely the multimodality of this feature. You can not only interact with the agent via voice, but you can also have dynamic text input fields being portrayed, and also things like buttons and carousels. And of course, it's a completely new way of interacting with a website. Instead of just manually browsing products and maybe having an agent on the side that can answer questions, the agent can actually interact with the website itself. Now, one thing I want to clarify is the 2 different versions this click-to-call feature ships with. One is the pre-built widget in the endpoint that we already saw when I was creating the click-to-call the first time in the project. That is now ready for you to embed on your platform of your choosing. It has some customization options, for example, the colors, and of course it's just a quick out-of-the-box configuration. Now the other configuration is the SDK, and the SDK is basically just the back end of this feature that then allows you to build any custom front end of your choosing. That is what I did for the demo, and that also means you can have precise control over voice and UI interactions and really make sure that it fits your branding. Now let's look at what happens behind the scenes. In the past, when you had your typical voice agent, you would have 2 places where you have to configure it, the Voice Gateway portal and the Voice Gateway endpoint. In the portal, you would have to do things like connect your zip trunk, configure phone numbers, configure speech providers, and in the endpoint, it would be things like Voice Gateway to an agent and process the speech to text transcripts, for example. Now with this new click-to-call architecture, we make it a lot more simple for you to get started. As you saw in Cognigy AI, the only 2 things you need to set up is the voice preview settings, the speech provider, and then in the endpoint, set up click-to-call integration with 1 click. Now, what happens in the backend when you hit that set up click-to-call integration button is that we in the portal create the speech provider, create the application, link the application to the endpoint, and also select the created speech provider that you created in the voice preview settings. That means, and we can then instantly display the HTML that you can then use to embed into your website. And that also means that a lot of settings that you had to do in the portal now fall away. For example, you don't have to configure your phone numbers, speech providers. You also don't really have to manage voice applications and the routing logic there either. The only thing you still have to do is if you want to hand over to a different carrier, you will still have to do that from the Voice Gateway portal. That also now means that Voice Gateway and the Voice Gateway endpoint and Cognigy AI is the main source of configuration for this feature, which is a lot nicer. It really makes it a lot more simple to get started. Now recapping, benefits of the multimodal experience in general. You have optimized low latency and high definition audio quality. You have seamless integration into digital experiences on web and on app, as we saw in the demo. And of course, easy setup, fully customizable with the SDK, while still providing full Cognigy AI feature support. Thank you so much. That was everything on Click to Call. And now we have a little more general update. We support new speech-to-text and text-to-speech providers, namely Speechmatic, as both SCT and TTS, 11 Labs as SCT, included in the voice preview now as well, and Deprogram Flux for SCT, which is optimized for accuracy, speed, and high volume audio. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. I hope you found this interesting, and handing back over to Nu.
Thank you, Tom. I love the CogniCycle demo. Really incredible to see the multimodal voice experiences enabled with Click to Call. Staying within the deploy stage, let's now move on to proactive journey orchestration. This is one of the most exciting product synergies to come out of NiCE acquisition of Cognigy, and something we are thrilled to introduce to our Cognigy users. Glenn, Senior Director of Product R&D and DevOps at NiCE, will walk us through how AI agents can manage long-running customer journeys to not just respond, but dynamically identify customer needs based on real-time signals and proactively engage exactly at the right moment. Glenn, take it away.
Thank you, Nu. It's a pleasure to join you all for my first NiCE Cognigy webinar. I'm Glenn, Senior Director of Product at NiCE, and I'm here to introduce you to proactive AI agents and how they can supercharge your existing Cognigy AI agents. The future of customer service is proactive, predictive, personalized experiences at scale. Proactive AI isn't about managing your inbound calls better, it's about driving additional benefits and revenue outside of the call center. Today, most contact centers wait for the customer to call in. Proactive flips that. You reach out first in the right channel at the right time before the customer even knows there's a problem. And instead of running individual interactions and automating individual interactions, proactive AI helps you orchestrate long-running engagements across multiple communications channels. And what makes this possible is the data you already own: CRM records, billing data, product usage signals. Proactive AI connects to these sources and uses them to decide when to reach out, which channels to use, and what to say. Proactive AI isn't just sending one outbound message, it's orchestrating an engagement journey, adapting at each step based on how the data changes, how the customer responds, which channels they engage on, and what outcome you're working towards. And that journey can play out over days and weeks across multiple communication channels. In this orchestration view, the AI agent is managing a full multi-step engagement over SMS and voice. You can see the timeline, the steps, and the decision points. The Cognigy AI agent engages with the customer at multiple points throughout that journey. How does that look inside Cognigy? Here's an example of a Cognigy AI agent wired up with the NiCE Proactive AI agent integrations and extensions. The agent's invoked by the Proactive AI application and initiates the conversation with the customer using the data it has available to drive the outcome. Proactive AI MCP servers or extensions can be used to update the engagement plan and the client application as the conversations evolve and the decisions are made. All of that intelligence lives in the AI agent that you've already built in Cognigy. The execution runs across whichever channels are configured. So there's a lot to learn and unpack with proactive journeys. It's a very rich space, and we hope to cover more in future webinars. If you'd like to learn more, first off, reach out to your customer success manager. There's significant changes coming to the Cognigy AI platform this year. It's all moving very fast, so get ahead of the competitors and make your AI agents proactive today. Thanks, Nu. Back to you.
Thank you, Glenn. We truly believe proactive journey orchestration combined with the power of AI agents is a game changer for customer journeys. And when done right, it can be the difference between a good customer experience and an exceptional one. There will be a lot more to come with this product, including deeper integration inside their Cognigy platform, so stay tuned for our future updates. Now, to close out the deploy chapter, I'd like to hand things over to Denise, product owner at NiCE Cognigy, for the latest updates on contact center integration. Unsurprisingly, the spotlight this time is on the NiCE CXone platform. Denise will show us the new native integrations that enable seamless AI to human handover within CXone across both voice and chat channels. Over to you, Denise.
Hello everyone, welcome to this tech update. It's so great to see you again, and let's start with the new features that we have added for this quarter. So let's start with the new feature that we have added for voice gateway side, NiCE CXone as a pre-configured SIP trunk. So normally when a user sets up voice gateway, the user have to go into their carriers and configure their SIP trunk manually. That means looking up to the right IP addresses, typing them in, and making sure that nothing is off. And on top of that, the IPs are different per region, so you have to dig through the help center to find the correct ones for your setup. But now we have made this a pre-configurable experience for NiCE users. So for a smoother experience, we have added NiCE as a predefined carrier directly into the voice gateway. So instead of doing this manual work, you just have to click to the NiCE and select your carrier from the predefined list. And after that, enter the correct IP addresses for your specific region, and the addresses get filled automatically. So no lookups, no copy-paste, no mistakes, just click and connect. So if you get a license with NiCE, you can directly get the SIP connection working. Just a couple of small things to keep in mind. We handle all the inbound IPs for you, but you will still need to whitelist our IPs on your side. And also, if you want to outbound calls, you will need to add your outbound domain. But again, for NiCE, all of that can be handled right inside NiCE Career Config. All right, let's jump into our next hot topic, which is a pretty big deal. So we have a new handover provider for NiCE CXone. So with this new integration, you can now transfer conversations from Cognigy AI straight into your human agent in NiCE CXone Contact Center. So native integration is fully supported in all installations and environments. There is one important thing upfront. So there are two flavors of the setup, and which one you get depends on your installation. So you don't pick it, you don't toggle it, you open your tenant and you'll see the option that applies to you. So the two flavors are integrated and non-integrated. And if you want to check the details, you can rely on our documentation. So the integrated setup is the easy path. So if Cognigy and NiCE are on shared infrastructure, all you need to do on your side is to create a handover provider. And that's it, because we do the heavy lifting for you. So Cognigy automatically creates the studio script and the channel on the NiCE side on behalf of you. So your only job is to log into NiCE afterwards and confirm everything looks right. Couple of clicks and you'll be done. So for the non-integrated one, actually the non-integrated one is for deployments where Cognigy AI and NiCE CXone run on separate infrastructures. So the two systems don't share an installation, therefore we cannot auto-provision anything for you. But in that case, you will do a little bit of more manual work and then you will be set. So the thing you have to do is to configure a bring your own channel in NiCE CXone environment. And once you configure that, you have to enter your NiCE CXone credentials in the Cognigy AI. And once you fill these required fields yourself, you will be done. And I know it sounds more like more work, but our documentation will walk through you step by step. So let's quickly jump into our demo and see what we have in this new handover provider. So first things first, I have actually created my flow, my agentic flow, and included handover to human agent node. And I have included my handover provider here. I have selected the one that I have created for the tech update. And as you can see, we have two toggles here. The first one is send transcript as first message. So basically, if you want your agents to see the previous conversation history between the bot and the end user, you can enable this toggle and we will show you the previous conversation history. And our second toggle is display agent details. So in case you want to display the agent's name and the profile picture to your end users, you can also enable this and we will display it for you. And in case you don't want it, you can also disable it. And in case you want to show a generic one, you can rely on our endpoint settings for that. And the rest is the same that we have for all Handover providers. So let's quickly check. As you can see, this is the NiCE environment from my agent perspective, and I will start a conversation for my booking agent. Let's say I want to talk to a human agent. Okay, so we will be connected to a human agent soon. And from the interactions, let's refresh the page. And as you can see, I can see the conversation history from here. And let's see what we have. As you can see, once I started typing, we have the typing indicators, and I will just send my message. And once I actually send it my message, you can see that from the end user perspective, you can see my human agent's name and avatar. And let's see how the agents actually see it. Hi there. I'm here. Yeah, and as you can see, we again have this typing indicators. So when your end users are also typing, the agents know that they are preparing an answer. So, and I want to tell you one more thing. As you can see here, we have sent the previous conversation history as we enabled the toggle in the Handover to Agent node. And I want to make sure that we have more coming. So please keep an eye on the release notes for the next features rolling out because we have a lot planned for this integration. And yeah, let's continue with our last update for this tech update. And the last feature for this tech update is a new node in the platform. So we have sent status to CXone Copilot node. And it is for Cognigy deployments integrated with NiCE CXone. So this new node is built for teams using AI agents for process automation in CXone. So this node is built specifically for CXone Copilot. That is where human agents can trigger and run multi-step automated workflows directly inside CXone Copilot. And the way it works is quite simple. You drop this node in as the terminal step at the end of your flow. And when the workflow finishes, the node sends a success or failure status back to CXone Copilot for agents. So the developers supervising these automations actually know how the run has ended. And you can also pass optional additional data, and if session metrics are available, they included in the payload automatically. So you don't have to do anything for that. And the reason this matters, until now, if you were supervising automated workflows, there was no formal way to know whether a task actually completed successfully or whether it needed someone to step in. So this node actually closes this gap and creates a better auditability, easier to spot failures, and easier to optimize. And one thing to keep in mind, this node only becomes active once AI agents for process automation in NiCE CX Task Assist are enabled. And that was the end of my session for this tech update. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.
Thank you, Denise. Now, to end our tech update on a high note, we are closing the loop on the agentic lifecycle with Observe. This is another area where the powerful synergies between NiCE CXone and Cognigy really come to life. Sujoy, Principal Product Manager at NiCE, will show us what that looks like in practice. He will demonstrate how real-world conversation data can be used to uncover new automation opportunities and how those insights can then be transformed into new AI agents automatically generated inside Cognigy. Sujoy, over to you.
Thank you, New. Hi, everyone. My name is Sujoy Datta. I'm a product manager at NiCE, and I'm going to talk about automated insights. So I'll share my screen. Okay. So what is automated insights? What's the problem it's trying to solve? So most of the CX leaders today know that they need to adopt AI, but the question that arises is, where do I start? And the next is, how do I quantify? I know I have to invest in it, but I need to quantify the actual opportunity. I need to know how much I need to invest, or what's the ROI I need to get out of it. How can I accelerate the time to value, and how do I measure the real value post deployment? Now, contact centers, there's a lot of complexity. There's a lot of unstructured noise. There are conversations of agents through different channels. They follow different actions. They have different behaviors. The sentiments are different. So our engine, what it does is it converts this unstructured noise to structured and uses this structured information to find out the automation opportunity, which we quantify it in terms of volumes as well as the ROI, and give you a breakdown by intent. And this is the first step, which is finding out the automation opportunity. And then through a click of a button, we help you create an AI agent for the intent for which you need to automate. And from the actions application, which I'll show it to you in a bit, you can deploy, you can publish that into Cognigy. So let's have a look. You can access automation opportunity by first accessing actions. In actions on the top, you get certain insights. One of them is automation opportunity. So behind the scenes, what happens is every interaction is assessed against the potential of automating it by looking at several parameters. We look for things like whether there's a low HT, low complexity, the issue is getting resolved, the sentiment is high, there are no follow-ups required. So we find out that, and then look at your historical data and find out the automation opportunity over the period of next 1 year. So over here, what it says is you have an opportunity to save 55,000 calls, which represents 63% of your total call volume. Now let's click on this card to get into the details. Let me change the date range over here. So what we have certain filters on the top that you can look at the automation opportunity by filtering by team, skills, channel, even category. These are stats about the data that we have analyzed. So the data that has been analyzed is of 3 months. These are certain stats, 21,000 interactions. This is the average duration, sentiment and all. And then we project based on this historical information, what is your opportunity for the next 1 year? So these are the same numbers that you saw in the beginning. The potential ROI, how it is calculated is through this settings option. In settings, first to enable automation opportunity, you need to check this box. And then in the user settings, you can put in the call cost, or what does a call or a chat typically cost in your contact center. Once you put this information, that information is used as an input to calculate the ROI. Then we give you a breakdown of this automation opportunity by category. So the pink bar is the total interaction volume for the next 1 year, and green is the automatable volume out of that pink one. So over here, like for billing and payment, it says that the interactions volume is 19,000. Out of that, 58% of your calls can be automated. Now, when we say intent, we have a hierarchy of intent. The top level is category. Then you have topic. This is where we have the bubble chart, where you can see the automation opportunity through different perspectives. The size of the bubble is the automatable volume. The color is the sentiment. And then this is plotted against the average duration and the automation opportunity. For what I'll do is I'll click on this travel and tourism. This is, then it filters out the topics for that. And then it shows you the subtopics, which is the lowest level of intent. So for travel and tourism, I have subtopics as booking flight, making a reservations, inquiring about flights, changing reservations. And these top 15 actions are nothing but the agent actions. Now, these are important because now that you know about the automation opportunity, you need to create an AI agent. And how would you create an AI agent? Knowing what are the typical actions taken by human agents on such type of calls. Since we have this information, now what let's do, let's take an action. Now let me create an AI agent. So I can click create an AI agent by clicking on this button. Behind the scenes, it finds out the best transcripts, gets diverse examples of interactions where there are more actions taken by human agents, and then creates an AI agent to mimic the different jobs that an AI agent would need to do to address the customer concerns raised over the interaction. So what I'll do is now this AI agent takes a little bit of time to create because it's looking at a lot of transcripts. So I'll open an AI agent that I had already created earlier. So I click on this, it creates different jobs. So since this is about booking, it has come up with a routing agent whose main job is to route it to different jobs. You have booking retrieval, you have booking modification, policy and fee agent. So over here, it shows you the different AI agents that have been the different the job for this particular, the description and the instruction for this particular job, the tools that this AI agent would require. So it has all of this information. Now what you can do is you can publish this AI agent right from here by clicking on it. So let me see. Okay, so let's click on this publish agent. So I click on this publish agent, it gets published over there. Since it takes a little bit of time, let's open an AI agent that I had already published earlier. So here's the AI agent created for booking. It has these different jobs. Let's go to routing. And here, let's just have a conversation with it. Hi. Today, I want to modify my booking. Okay, so it asks for a reference number. I give it this reference number, change the date to 29 May. Okay, so as you saw, what we did is we looked at the automation opportunity, created an AI agent just through a button, and from the actions interface, published it to Cognigy. So you have an AI agent that works through natural language conversation. All you need to do is you need to connect this AI agent to your APIs. So with that, I'll hand it over back to New.
Thank you so much, Sujoy. What a powerful capability. By creating AI agents based on real-world data, you can ensure your automation efforts are aligned with actual customer needs to drive ROI much faster. This also closes the loop on the agentic lifecycle and represents an important first step toward autonomous and semi-autonomous agent improvement in the future. And with that, we are wrapping up today's tech update. A big thank you again to all of our amazing product experts and speakers for showcasing these exciting developments across the platform. Really impressive to see how much has shipped. We hope you enjoyed the updates, and we love to hear your feedback as well. As always, you can visit our product updates page to stay up to date with everything new in NiCE Cognigy. And if we didn't get the chance to answer your question during the webinar, we'll make sure to follow up with you afterward. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you at the next tech update.